Okay, just a quick video to look at getting a bend into something. So I've got this, albeit very rudimentary, is supposed to be a katana. Let's imagine it's a wooden one, but just purely for the purpose of showing this sort of tool slash function in Maya. So obviously this is a handle, this would be the blade, or blade part of it. Obviously it's supposed to be wooden. I'm going to look to try and bend this. Now, typically, a lot of people who would not know about this may put cuts in themselves with a multi-cut, so selecting here or Control-Shift-X, and then start trying to get the faces and maybe moving them up. So, deselecting that, doing a little bit of a curve, moving it up a bit so it keeps, you get the point. So, very manual, laborious sort of process to try and get that in, or they would do it when they would make it, so they had faces and extrude it and lift it up as they're extruding. We don't need to do this. There is actually a bend deformer in Maya. So first of all, we need some geometry adding to this so then it's got something to bend. So at the minute it's just one or multiple really long faces, so there's no cuts in there for it to be able to bend. Now, something that I've looked at before is the insert edge loop. It can give you very equally spaced, symmetrical edge loops into something very quickly, rather than using the multi-cut, which is singular, so one edge loop at a time. So what we can do is mesh tools. On the insert edge loop, we can go in the little settings box. We will tick multiple edge loops if it's not already, and obviously it's going to be equal multiplier, and I would decide I want 16 edge loops popping in there. Now, we've got this equipped right now. As soon as we left click and hold on an edge, it's going to give us a preview of what it's going to do, and then when we let go, it cuts it. So it's put 16 edge loops into this section, equally spaced apart. So now I've got a lot more geometry. It's added a lot more faces because of these cuts that we've put in these edge loops. So this should be able to bend now. Now it's got the geometry to be able to do so. So what we need to do, select it in object mode, and then we can go to deform, non-linear, and bend. Now we will put that in, and it may look like it's not done anything, but that may not be the case, or it may be so. If it doesn't spawn anything in, like mine just has, you might need to delete the history and freeze the transformations. So delete history is Alt-Shift-D, or it's this button here, and then freezing transformations is this little snowflake, or modify freeze, and that just zeros all of the translates, rotate, scale that you've done to this. So let's just try that again. So make sure you're in select mode. So make sure it's in object. So deform, non-linear, bend, and it's given us it this time. So it may end up that it's stood up, so the wrong sort of direction for what we need, or it may go inside it and actually just be sat inside. You'll know if it's spawned in because you'll get this bend one handle coming to your outline. If you've not got this open, it's just this little button to the left here above the magnifying glass. So we've got the bend one handle. I obviously need it inside of the katana, so we're going to press E to get rotate and hold J to do increments of rotations, and then now it is inside. So what we can do is press Control A if we've not got the attribute editor, and we can change the attributes of this. So first and foremost, I like to just push the bounds so it's sticking out of the actual object, just so that I can see it, and then we can refine that to what we need first. And then I'm going to add some curvature. So I want it to curve upwards, so I'm going to add the curvature. Now obviously if it's going this way, then your curvature, your bend handle just needs rotating upwards. So going the right way. Obviously we've just got a slight issue where it's doing the handle as well. Now if we hadn't put them cuts in the blade aspect, it would have done this, because there's no geometry to bend, so it would have just essentially lifted it up. This has got that nice bend because of all the edge loops we put in. So first and foremost, wherever our pivot point is, that's obviously the pivot for the bend, so we want it to go to where it's going to start. So you can see it's rolling around it. We want the bend to start at the base of the blade, and we don't want any bend. So this low bound and high bound essentially is low bounds coming this way from the pivot point and high bound is coming this way from the pivot point. So if we put the low bound to 0 essentially the bend handle is not going in this direction at all. So that's why we've put it here to start, because we only want to curve on the high bound. So this is going to change the length of this. Now, as you can see, you can essentially see it starting to wrap around it the longer the high bound is. So we want to curve the whole blade. So we're going to have it so it's coming out of the end of the blade here. And all we need to do is refine this curvature. Now, it might be something that you just want to mess around with slightly. So maybe you don't want it to start quite at the base. You want it to be straight for a period of time and then start to curve. It's whatever you want on your object itself. Obviously, we're doing a sword. You can do this with anything that you want just some sort of curl to. Obviously, if you want it to go around a circle, you just push a little bound up. So something like that I'm happy with. So I've got a nice curve to it. I'm happy with the curve. Just like you will do with booleans or anything of that nature, once you're happy, you need to essentially confirm that you want that to become permanent. And that's through deleting the history again. So select the object, Alt-Shift-D, or this button here. It deletes the bend handle and in effect confirms and makes it permanent, that bend. The bend handle's gone. We can't reduce that now. We can't adjust that curve. So you are locked in moving forward from this point onwards. It's just always good to freeze them transformations as well, just to zero everything out. So really quickly got that bend into it. It's a lot more natural and it's a lot easier to manage than trying to do it. Thanks for watching.